Okay, I'm going to start. So thanks for joining me tonight at Anthony's Creative Classroom. This is actually video or live number 7 already. Where has the time gone? And all the videos through last week are on YouTube and have been edited. So all this time at the beginning waiting for people to join and get their settings right and everything, all of that gets edited out, so the video just starts with right where we're at. So tonight we're going to explore the world of stamps by Judith and Heather, and their stamps are available online and you'll find them at shows as well. And I just want to put it out there that you all have been watching me do things with other people's products. I don't get any money from them. I don't get products from them for doing what I do. It's just I'm pulling things out of my stash that I already have. So, hey Lee. So I just wanted to put that out there that I'm not making any money or profit by recommending these companies to you. Hi Donna. Hey Linda. And we're going to just get started. Nice, we've got 10 people with us. I hope we have some good conversation and comments and questions. And so I'm going to take this away and unveil some of the things we're going to be using today. And I'm going to zoom out just a little notch here so you can see a little better. We're going to be you found me from Inky Stamper. She's crazy. She and I did a joint project a couple years ago because of COVID. That it was a camping trip that I did with Chelsea from Inky Stamper. So tonight I'm going to be using some of the wood-mounted stamps, cling mount stamps, and the sticks and stubbies. And I'm going to be using some dye inks, a pigment ink, and a hybrid ink because they have different properties, and I'll explain that as we go through that. Going to be using some Tombow markers, which are water-based, and a couple of pens for doing some detail, and a pencil, and I've got all kinds of paper cut. We're going to do some masking and everything else. So let me clear some of this out of the way so we can get started. And I'm going to show you some of the interacting stamps to start with that Stamps by Judith and Heather sells. A lot of it are the little stubbies and sticks, which I'm addicted to. I probably have close to 200 of them, and that's not even a dent in what they sell. So we're going to do some work with those. Move the markers out of the way. And these are a couple of the samples that I'm going to share with you. And let me grab my remote so it will autofocus. So this is a couple of the sticks, and it's a balloon stamp, a bear, a package stamp, and this happy birthday. And I'll explain some of this as we go along. This is from the collection with the sticks and the stubbies, and I used a flower pot, and this is their stamp, and it's a well-used stamp, A Tree for All Seasons. So this is a fabulous stamp to play with, and we're going to do a card with this tonight, and we're going to do a different card. We're going to make the other card I'm getting ready to show you. But this is such a versatile stamp. You can use just part of it. There's a smaller version of it available as well. Hi Georgiana and Rita. So I'm going to set that off to the side. we're going to make this card tonight as well. And I'm going to show you how I made my cloud stencil. And this card is going to involve a little bit, I'll pull this up a little higher, it's going to involve some masking and just a whole lot of fun stuff going on with this. So sit back, relax, take some notes, hopefully you'll ask some questions, and we're going to get started. So I've got 4 of the interactive stamps that I'm going to zoom in also. So I've got 4 of the interactive stamps with me. So I have, this one is the twig stamp. This is the pine bough. And this is the sprig. And this is the, it's got a specific name, but I always forget, and I call it the textured leaf stamp. So it's this texture that you can see on the top of the stamp. It transfers with the ink. So I'm going to show you this one first because we're not going to use this in my cards, but I want to show you how these stamps really work, and you can do a lot of things with them. So I'm going to start with just a 4x4 piece of paper, and I'm using the Kaleidacolor pads. I like to use these pads because especially if I'm working with these, I don't need a big full ink pad because these fit on the ink pad. And one ink pad gives me 5 colors. Reinkers are available for these pads, but for the cost of having to buy 5 reinkers, it's cheaper when the pad dies just to get a new pad. And some of my ink pads, seriously, are 6-7 years old. So they last a long time, and they come in like 16 different colorways. I like the royal, and I'm going to grab one real quick that is actually my favorite, and I'm just going to push a piece of paper into it. This one is called Creole Spice, and I'm going to show you 2 ways that these pads can work. So I'm just going to press this piece of paper into the pad. So there are the colors, and this is with them separated. These pads also slide together to make a solid ink pad. And I'm just going to use the other half of this piece of paper, and I'm going to press this into the pad. So that's the pieces, pads slid together. This is the pad with the ink pad separated. The other thing to know about these pads is the lid will not go on all the way and seal the pad unless you separate it. There's a divot in the lid, and that goes down into the handle to close the pad. So I just wanted to share this with you about how these pads work. If you have a local store near you, they can order these pads for you. I encourage you to support the store. If you decide you're going to, after seeing some of this, you're going to order some of these stamps, you can get these stamp pads direct from Stamps by Judith and Heather. So I'm going to set that over to the side. So this is how, just to tell you again, this is what the pads look like apart and together. And you'll see what happens when you use them together, which is what I'm going to show you next. So I'm going to start with the Royal Satin pad, which is primary colors. And I'm going to start with it. This. Use this bigger piece of paper. I'm going to start with it and put the pads together. So if you take a stamp and you go into two colors at one time and you stamp it, you're going to get the line in the colors. Let me hit the focus. You're going to get this line in the color. So the idea to not have that happen is to move the stamp back and forth in the two colors, and then you get a blended image. My autofocus is not working, so I have to use the remote to make it happen. So here's with the line, here's blended. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to take this leaf stamp, and I'm going to twist it a little bit, and I'm going to stamp it down. Okay, so I'm going to ink it again. I'm going to turn the stamp this way and stamp it. Then I'm going to ink it again. It's easier for me to turn the paper than to turn the stamp, so I'm just going to turn the paper. And now I have a flower. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe the ink off on my cloth over here. I'm not worrying about a stamp cleaner at this point. So now I'm going to go into the other end, which is the green. I'm going to go into this and pick up some green, and it's going to get a little bit of the blue. And now my flower has some leaves. All with this one stamp and a rainbow pad. So you can also take this stamp, wipe off the ink, and I'm going to I want to get just green ink on it, so I'm going to separate the pad. Takes a little bit more time to ink it up, but I just want plain green ink. And I can just make a bigger leaf with it. So the other thing you can do with it, grab another piece of paper, is I'm going to slide the pad back together, and I'm going to come into my flower colors again. And before I used it with the point on the outside, this time I'm going to use the point on the inside. So I'm going to get a different shaped flower. And I'm going to have more petals this time on my flower. So I can use the stamp either direction. Yes, this is what I mean about interactive. The stamps can do multiple things. So if I wanted to just have this as a flower, I could take, I should use a longer piece of paper, but I could just take my marker and draw a stem. Not a very good stem, but you get the idea. So if it was on a longer piece of paper, I could have a longer stem coming off of it. The other thing you can do with these, once you have it like this, is I'm just going to take a purple marker so that you can see it better, and you can just come along the outside and edge the flower. I would probably not use this purple, but it's the marker that I grabbed that was in front of me, just to outline the petals. And I actually should come all the way in to add more definition to my flower petals. And just follow the edge of the stamp. And then come in. And it adds more shape to my flower. So we're going to grab another interactive stamp, and it's the dot stamp. You'll use this probably more than any other stamp you get from Stamps by Judith if you would do something like this. So I want to add some of my flowers just kind of floating around. So, which one is the blue? Okay, so I'm going to go into the blue, again with the pads separated, and I'm just going to do some dots around my flower to kind of ground it. And create a little bit of a background around my flower. So I don't need to cut this out to put it on a card. I can just put the dots around the flower. And then I'm going to grab one other little stamp, and I'm going to go into the purple. Actually, I'm going to go slide it together, and I want to get a blend of these colors. So I'm going to pick up this little stamp and put a little bit more images around my project. So now this whole thing was one stamp and a stick and a stubby. So this is the cool things about the stamps from Stamps by Judith and Heather. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to show you one other thing. And I want to grab a different ink pad real quick. So I'm going to grab the one with desert, and it's all oranges and reds. I want to make sure my stamp is cleaned off because I was in dark ink. So I am going to take the same stamp again, and a leaf and a heart. And I need my black marker. Where did I put my little marker? There it is. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick up a bunch of different shades of these oranges and red. And I'm going to stamp that down. Okay? Everybody with me? So now I'm going to take my little heart stick, and I'm going to come down at this end of the pad and pick up some other colors. And I am going to stamp the heart just at the end, right here. And now I'm going to take a double leaf stick, and I'm going to go into these same color, darker colors at the end. And I'm going to stamp this right here and a little eye, and a couple fins, and a gill, and a couple fins down here, and I just made a fish with a heart, a leaf, and this big leaf stamp. So, yep, Rita, it is a fish. So if you're doing something and you have a round, you can even just die cut out of a piece of paper and put a piece of acetate and make a shaker card and do like shades of blue and do some seaweed and make a fishbowl shaker and put a couple fish in it. This reminds me of a tiger barb that I used to have in my aquarium. So easy. So we made a fish, we made a bigger leaf, we made a flower, and another flower. Ignore my stem. Let me cover up my stem. I'm going to hold it here and cover up the stem. Another flower, and we took a marker and went along the edges to define the stamp to create our petal, more definition in our petals. Yes, Betty, we could do a kissing fish and do one the opposite direction. Some gills, some fins. And there you go. Now we have kissing fish. Right, Becky. Cute fish with the big lips. So, while I have the heart stick out, so we have a heart, okay? We can take the heart and just stamp a bunch of them, and you could actually just tap and then take a marker now. I would probably use a stamp for my leaves, but you can take these little sticks and tap them and pounce them to make a bigger image, to make a flower. One more thing you can do, and I was going to show you later, but I'll show you now while I have this out. Tap some of this ink off because I want to come into the oranges and the reds. Now I just made a little butterfly with the hearts. So that's what stamps by Judith and Heather mean when they talk about stamps being interactive. They work together. They make more than just the stamp is. So these little stamps and stubbies and sticks are so versatile. I mean, if you had nothing else, if you were a scrapbooker and you could put little things on your scrapbook page to fill in the background in some blank spaces that you don't have room for anything, or for my friends who are on here that are ATC card makers, these would be great in that as well, to add some detail and some other things to your projects. So that's what I have for you with that particular stamp. We're going to keep any questions. Okay, we're going to keep rolling along. So I'm going to put I'm just going to leave the little star, the little snowflake, and the stick and the dots out because I'm going to use them all night long. So I want to go on to the stickweed. That's what it's called, the stickweed. And I need to grab a piece of copy paper real quick, so bear with me for 1 second. And I'm going to quote Heather, we're going to make the most expensive tool you'll ever need in card making. Here's the most expensive tool you're ever going to need in card making. Right here. That's all you need. That's the most expensive tool. So we're going to take and put this whole, I want this little grass stick. And I'm just going to grab my Kaleidacolor pad with the shades of green. And for this, I can leave them separated. So I'm going to come in this green, get my tool back here, get it relined up. And we're just going to add some grass. Okay. Oh, missed one. Okay. So, just a little bit right there, too. So, that's the wonders of having the extra piece of paper. We can just come back and fill in what we need to fill in. Hi, Mary. Am I moving again, or am I still stuck? Somebody answer me, please. Am I still stuck? Okay, thanks, Debbie. Yeah, I think part of my problem is what we're having going on with the weather. So I'm going to take my brown marker, and instead of being close to the top, I'm just going to take it, and this is easier upside down. I just want to fill in and put a little bit of land underneath what I'm doing here. Okay. So now I'm going to take my green, and I'm just going to come in and do some dabbing here. And then I'm going to come back with the blue to get some extra shading. And I apologize, I grabbed a too dark of a green, but we're going to keep going because this isn't the main part that I wanted to show you. So we're going to put the markers over here. So now I'm going to go into my little basket here, and I am going to grab this little flower, and I am also going to grab the heart again. I'm done with the green, and I'm going to go into the pinks and purples. This is why I like these pads, because I've got all these right here, just with these 4 pads in front of me. That's 20 colors of ink. So that's why I really like these ink pads, especially for things like this, because I don't have to haul half the craft room when I want to work with these. Okay, so I'm going to keep working with the pad open, and I have the little flower stamp, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to add some flowers. To my twigs. Okay, tap that off, go into another color, and add a couple more flowers. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my heart. Actually, no, hold on 1 minute. I need to grab another stick real quick. I grabbed my little tulip. So now I'm going to use the heart, and I'm going to go into a different color pad because I want a little bit of orange. So I'm going to go into the original pad, I clean off my heart, and I'm just going to tap. To make a little flower. I just want to make like a little splotch. Okay, and then sure, we're going to have the butterfly again, or the butterfly again. So it's that easy to make a little card with just a few little things and a couple of these rainbow ink pads. Ooh, I hope the thunder's not too bad, Becky. Any questions at all before I move on? See, y'all were real chatty and asking questions last week. Okay, so we've done a couple things here. So now we're going to get into you'll have to show that to me, Becky, and then maybe if you can take and make one with your stamps and post it in the chat that was going on about this live happening, so we can see what that picture is, what you're talking about with the butterfly with the hearts, other than this little one that I made here. So we're going to make a card. So I've got a piece of paper, and we're going to use the Tree for All Seasons stamp. So, and you'll have to forgive me because sometimes I just have to stamp on an angle. And I am using my VersaFine ink pad. And mine is still older that it has the flip top that just folds back. The new ones are this style pad and the lid completely comes off. So if you order a VersaFine Onyx black pad, it's going to come in a style like this versus the flip top. Mine are that old that I haven't had to re-ink them, so I haven't bought new ones. So I'm going to ink up my tree. And I'm just going to give it a stamp. Press down, and there we go. So there's my image. Simple, easy peasy. So I am going to, we're going to, what are we going to make? We're going to use the oak leaf and the acorn. So I'm going to stamp my oak leaf in brown. So there's my oak leaf. It doesn't have to connect right to the tree. And we're going to stamp a couple of them at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, got an odd number of those. And I'm going to grab the acorn, and we're going to stamp the acorn onto our tree. Put one over there. Yes, Mary, this tree can be used all the time. So let me show you real quick 3 of the cards that I made with this. We're remaking this one. So we're going to remake this tree. So here's an Easter one that I use the egg, and there's a stick with a bunny face. And I used a rock and grass stamp at the bottom to cover the base of the tree. And then again, I used the dots and the little stars to add some oomph to my tree. This one, I used the birdhouses, a double flower with some leaves, and a little bird. And then that grass stick stubby that we used on the hill is what I just used across the bottom of the card, and I just cut off the base of the tree for this card. And then again, the dots and the little star. Yeah, so you can do, with this product that is available for this tree, you can do any theme. You can do 4th of July, you can do Halloween, you can do Thanksgiving, obviously Easter, Christmas, birthday, wedding, you name it. You can use this stamp and these sticks to make every card you want to make for the whole year. Yeah, the bunny is beyond cute. Let me zoom him up here and focus. Now, can you get any cuter than that? He is just so cute. Stamped him in black, outlined him in gray, a little pink in the ears and a little pink in the nose, and he was done. This card did not take long to make. I mean, you saw how fast I did this right here. So we're going to grab, and I can't remember my colors, so I'm going to do it on the back real quick. Okay, those are the colors I want for my leaves. And by the miracle of TV, I already have a flower pot done and cut out. You all don't need to watch me fussy cut an image. So I have my flower pot for my base already done. So I'm just going to come in here, and with these stamps, there is no detail coloring. You can see, let me zoom in a little bit more. I mean, it's this fast to color. there is no big detail coloring happening here. Okay, they're colored. You don't even have to add another color if you don't want to, but I just want to brighten them up a little bit. This is what I call scribble coloring. So there's that. Different brown. I'm going to come in and color the tops of my acorns. And color my bottoms. Now, if you don't like the color, you can't go any better or any faster than that. So, now my tree looks kind of flat. So I want to add a little dimension to the stick part of the tree. So I'm going to take a gray marker and I'm just going to draw shadow over the top of all the black lines. Just to add some depth dimension to my tree. There. My tree is done. That tree is done. So I'm going into my rainbow pad. I'm going to grab my little stick, my little dot stubby, and I'm going to slide this together, and I'm going to pick up some color. And I want to get a little bit down in the middle as well. Okay, fill in these couple little spots. Add a little bit more color in there, a little bit up there. So that part's done. I'm going to grab my little star, and I'm going to go into the back and forth. And maybe another one down here. One more up here because I got a blank spot. So, you know, and I never know when to quit. So we're going to quit. Alright, separate my pad. Now I'm going to grab my trimmer real quick. And I'm going to trim my card down. Zoom out. So we're going to take some off this end. And I want to give it to about 5.5. So we're going to take that off. Grab a piece of brown paper. Okay, I need to take a little bit off each side. Can you tell I'm not measuring really? Because I will even it all out when we're done. A little bit of tape. that on my card. Trim off the bottom. And put on my flower pot. There, card is done. First one, second one, a little different. This one's a little taller. So, Betty, I'll put a link in the video. The sticks and the stubbies are available from stampsbyjudithandheather.com. So I will put a link in, or send you a, you know what, hold on, let me grab my phone, let me look at the exact website, and I will type it in for everybody. Hold on a minute. Okay. Okay, so there's the link to where you can buy the stamps and stubbies that I'm using. So let me get my keyboard back out of the way. Scraps over there. Okay, any questions other than that? Does it make a difference with the dot? Yeah, that does make a difference with the dots. So, and also the highlighting. This one I highlighted with gray. The original one I highlighted with tan. It's kind of hard to see on the camera. But, you know, in this one I used different color for my dots and my little stars. But it just finishes off the card. Let me scroll back just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. You're welcome, Lee. So we're going to make one more card, and we're not going to completely finish it, but I'm going to show you how to make it. I'm not going to do all the layering, and we are going to make this card. So let me zoom in real quick. So we're going to make this particular card very quick, not a whole lot of steps. So it takes a little longer than doing the tree, but it is one, two, three, 4, 4 stamps, a little bird stubby, the Sprig stamp, and this little flower stamp. So, again, not a whole lot of stamps. And if you already have a flower pot stamp, just use what you already have in your stash. I'm not trying to get you to buy anything different. Okay? So, I'm going to leave this over here for some reference. Clear the decks a little bit with some of this other product. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I have a little bit more room here. Okay, so I have this piece of paper, and because if you all know me personally, you know I have OCD. I don't do things that end up out of balance too often. So I want to make sure my garden tree is straight up and down. So I'm going to use my T-square and I'm going to draw a line. Because that's just how I operate. So I'm going to turn this sideways so that I can see the top and bottom. Let me zoom in. I'll take my black ink pad and this stamp. And I'm going to ink that stamp up. See how I have this big blob down here of ink? I'm going to blot that off and add a little bit more ink to the bottom of my stamp and not push so hard with the stamp. So excuse my head if it gets in the camera. So now I know I'm straight up and down. Straight up and down. So I'm just going to take my eraser and erase that pencil line. Because I don't need it anymore. I know those of you that know me that live in Ohio are laughing. I can feel it, I can hear it. So I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to go over this and fill it in with some gray. Because when I made the original card, I forgot to do that and had to go back and do it. So I'm going to do that first. Because I don't want to color it in solid black. Okay, so a little bit of gray on my garden hook here. So now my birdcage stamp is a cling stamp on a clear block. So I'm going to ink that up. And I want to look at this little loop right here at the top of this stamp. And I'm going to get it on that hook. So I'm kind of going to look from the side to see where I'm at with that. And stamp the birdcage. So we're done with those two steps. So I want to take my tall flower pot and I'm going to stamp it over here. And we're going to use this again. I also need a post-it note for this. I'm going to take the small flower pot. There also is, this is the medium flower pot, and then there's another one that's even bigger than this, which I don't have. These are the two that I use, and the tall skinny one. So I'm going to stamp this flower pot here. Now on my card you can see I have a little short, like a little tray flower pot. So I'm going to put my post-it note here and I'm going to come in and ink my stamp, and I'm just going to stamp lower than the bigger pot and let the extra of the pot go off on the post-it note. And I'm just going to take my little fine tip black pen and fill in the bottom of my pot. And nobody knows I didn't have a little pot that size. So I do need to create a mask with this flower pot. So, oh, where are my scissors? There's my scissors. So I need to real quick cut out this flower pot. And remember, when you're making a mask, you want to cut just inside the line of the stamp. And the reason I need to do that is because I want this other big flower pot to be partially behind this one. So I'm going to cover that one up. I'm going to take my tall flower pot again, and I'm going to stamp the tall one. Now you can see what would have happened had I not had the mask. This one would have been up in the air over top of that. But because of the mask, now it's behind. I covered that in a previous video, but I wanted to go over it again real quick. Because sometimes we see things in the videos and we forget about them, or we just need a refresher because we haven't done it for a while. Okay, so I am done with the black ink. No, I have one more thing. I have to do the little bird. So I'm going to lightly tap my little bird in the black, and I'm going to stamp him right up here on top. So that is pretty much all of our big stamping that we have to do for this. So I went from this to this. So I'm going to show you real quick how I got there. So I'm done with the flower pots. I'm done with the bird. So I just need these and my little grass stamp again. So I'm going to go back into my rainbow pad. And I want the green. And sometimes I don't remember what order the colors are, because in the pad it's hard to tell because they're all dark. So I just leave the lid handy so I know which color is where. So the green is down here. We put a little bit in front of our pots and a little bit over here. I don't need a whole lot of it. So I am going to use this green rainbow pad for my sprig. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to slide these colors together, and I'm going to take my sprig, and again, I want to use my Post-it note to cover up my pot, because I want to stamp part of this down over the pot so it looks like it's coming out of the pot. So now it's coming out of the pot instead of on top of the pot. Okay, now I want to make this look like I have some coming, sorry, I hope I was in camera with that. I want to make this look like I have some coming down over the top. But first, before I do that, I want to take my markers and color my pots. Again, no big detail coloring, it's kind of scribble coloring. You know, if you have a little bit of white in it, we all know flower pots get white spots on them as they age. So, no biggie. So these stamps also have the detail spots built into them. So you can see where the little marks are on the stamps. That's where I'm going to add my little highlights. And a little bit underneath the rim of the pot. So, doesn't need a whole lot. So, there we go. So now I'm going to put, because I want the plants to come over the pot, I don't want the stems to be sticking up. So I'm going to ink up my stamp and come down this way. Down in the front of my pots. Okay, so I want to show you how I did the background. So I'm not going to do any more coloring on here, but I am going to add my flowers so you see how I did that. So I went back into the rainbow pad and I have my little flower, solid flower, and I'm just inking up and stamping my flower. Tap it off, change colors. Tap it off, come into this color. Okay, so there's my flowers. Joan, the stubbies are just incredible. So I want to show you how I did my sky. I took a sponge and I took a Memento Summer Sky ink pad. Perfect color for doing a sky. Now I took my scalloped circle punch. Let me focus. And I punched 3 circles and I taped them to a square of paper with some Scotch tape. That's all I did to make my cloud stencil. Well, Lee, now you have it fresh in your mind to think about using it. So I'm just going to ink up and I'm going to put my homemade cloud stencil down. And let me zoom in so that you all see this better. So I'm just coming in with my homemade cloud stencil and I'm moving it around. It's as you press as hard or as light as you want. I have light areas, I have dark areas. One thing I'm trying to not do is go over the bird because I will come back and color him. I can go right over that. I can even go right over the bird cage because you can see through the bird cage. And you want to twist and turn as you go. And I can even go right over the flowers to get sky behind them. Even behind my flower pots. So if I have a spot that I think needs a little bit more, just come in and add a little bit more. So it depends if you want a stormy sky or if you want a sunny sky. And then if you have some spots you want to fill in, just ink a little bit, tap a little off, and come in lightly with a light touch. And do some filling in without the stencil. So that's how this card became this card. It's that simple. Took a green marker and added some a little bit more color to my grasses here. A brown underneath everything. Here's some rocks here. And because everything's just floating, you just want to add something underneath it so it's not floating. I could take other little stamps. I have little stone stamps and stuff and fill in. Again, where I have my stamps with my grass, I can go right over that again with another color and add a little bit more color. And then I get 2 shades of green because I stamped with the green. And I can come down here and add a little green over the brown because there's a little bit of grass in front of the dirt. So that's my take on interactive stamping from Stamps by Judith and Heather. I will post the finished cards onto Facebook and Instagram. Are there any questions tonight? Rita, they are fun stamps to dig out. I am missing a whole box of them. I'm missing my entire box of greetings and all my winter stuff. I cannot find it. I have torn this room apart. I have a feeling that they are just gone. They might have gotten thrown out by accident, or I lent them to somebody and don't remember it. But so again, let me spread out the cards that I made with these products, the finished cards. Oh, I have one other one that I want to show you real quick that I made with the happy birthday stamp. So your greeting doesn't always have to go this way. It can go sideways on the card. It does 2 things. It fills in a weird gap, and I can still get the whole verse on because going across my A2 card, the stamp is too wide. So then in the background, I used a stick versus the stubby with the dots. The stick only has 3 and a little star, and I took my balloon stamp and stamped it over the bear, and then just took a black marker and went over the strings on the stamp, so it's like the bear is holding the balloons. So that was another easy, quick card because of the sticks and the stubbies making my background. This was not a lot of coloring. I just colored right over the whole thing, then took a darker marker and went over the hatch marks in the stamp. So I colored the whole thing, other than his nose and his ears, with a tan marker, and then took a brown marker and just went right over all the hatch marks and to add the detail in the bear. So he was another easy color. So I have this one that's kind of a little scene. The birthday card with the bear. And then I have the Easter card with the tree with the rabbits. Let me zoom out. This was the original and the card we made tonight, which is a little different. And then I have the one with the birdhouses and the flowers. So, and again, this is all from Stamps by Judith and Heather. So this is the company I was featuring tonight. And again, I get nothing from them for doing this. I'm just using things that are in my stash. So I hope you enjoyed what we did tonight. And I'll be back next Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern with a whole new idea. And again, if you all have ideas of things that you want me to do, let me know. I received a message from somebody earlier today that wanted me to do jelly printing. So we will be visiting jelly printing in the near future. I just need to get a little bit better in practice with it because I haven't done it for a while, and get all my supplies together. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Enjoy your evening and your weekend, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much.